A study done by American University stated that 20% of Americans speak a second language. A study by Erodera said that 67% of Germans speak a second language. This shows the wide diversity in Americans speaking a second language versus the Germans, which reveals that Americans do not value foreign language education as much. Here's another infographic that displays this information. 86% of Europeans totally agree that everyone should be able to speak at least one language in addition to their mother tongue. If you looked at this stat for Americans, it would be widely different. I hope I can help you see why less foreign education is a problem in America and that our lack of it does affect our kids in negative ways. As I stated, the problem is, just to reiterate, specifically the lack of foreign education in middle school and grade school kids. And while you may be past this stage in life of middle school and grade school education, you still may have kids, or you may care for your furthering education now. And I know I care about this subject because I am a Spanish 3 student, and I've only been learning Spanish for 3 years of my life, starting in my freshman year of high school. And I know that this has been something that has greatly affected me as I've been trying to learn a language, and I realize how much easier it could have been if I had been learning a language younger. My first point is going to be on the topic of neuroplasticity. Here's a quote from a source, a book written by Deutsch. As we age, the more we use our native language, the more it comes to dominate out linguistic map space. Essentially what he's saying is there are paths in your brain that as you grow up, your brain cuts off what isn't used. This is called typically use it or lose it. If you don't use these language learning pathways, they will be cut out, and essentially later in life, it's going to be a lot harder to learn language because you have to remake those pathways that were gone. If you started foreign language education in these younger grades in America, you would see people be able to learn languages easier and kind of bridge that connection. My second is I have another quote from Deutsch's book. Our brain is plastic, and because plasticity is so competitive, it is so hard to learn a new language and end the tyranny of the mother tongue. I can attest to this personally in my experience in Spanish 3. English is so hard to push to the side in an attempt to try and learn a new language, partially because my pathways have been long gone for years before I even started Spanish. My next point is on overall brain health and how foreign language education affects the overall brain health of whoever's learning the language. My first quote, I'm just going to summarize this for you. Essentially, if students are learning a foreign language, the rest of their academics is boosted as well, supplemented by that different type of learning. I can speak to this as in Spanish 3, I am really bad at math, as many of you might be as well, and I know that math really stretches my brain in a way, but language is hard for a whole different reason, and being able to push past certain barriers in my mind makes the rest of my brain be able to do that in whatever subject I may choose to take. Another quote from Spence's book, just 1 week of learning a new language has positive impact on students' levels of alertness and focus. This improvement was maintained with continuous language study of at least 5 hours per week. This quote reveals a separate problem of how American education fails students even who take it in high school. My school has the A-Day, B-Day schedule, and with this schedule, you get anywhere from 2 to 5 hours per week, but it's never consistent. So already we're not going to be getting those brain benefits, and so when we introduce language learning at a younger age, it can be more consistent and actually make that difference. And then here is an infographic, just a graphic I thought was really interesting because it shows these countries that all have better education typically by testing the students than America does. And this is really interesting because if you look at this list, a lot of these countries also have a very strong community of people that speak a second language or even a third, a fourth, because typically it gets easier after you learn that second one. But that's interesting and kind of proves the point Spence was trying to make. My last point is culture connection. This quote from Mercuri's book says, language is intrinsically related to culture. It performs the social function of communication of the group values, beliefs, and customs, and fosters feelings of group identity. In other words, language is the medium through which groups preserve their innate cultures and keep their traditions alive. America is often seen as not having a culture because we are a blend of so many, which is really great. But if you can't bridge that language gap, you can't connect with the other cultures as readily. If we teach kids a language beyond English to maybe get to know their neighbors better or the people they go to school with, they can learn about their culture and become connected through that and not have such separation or division in America. My last quote here. In a new series of studies from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, researchers found that changes in self-perception and did indeed accompany multilingualism, at least for the population of bilingual Hispanic women, but the effect was greatest for bicultural women who participated in both Latino and Anglo culture. So, for kids in America who are not only Caucasian and speak English, they can connect to their respective cultures better by having these language classes, which is going to increase their health overall, because being invested in culture, whether it's your friends' culture or learning about other cultures, enriches your life with more of a purpose than you would have had before. And teaching these languages to these kids at younger ages is going to help them start that younger, because of neuroplasticity and the benefits from overall brain health. If you start that younger, it's going to benefit them later on when they start to care about cultures. And here are some of my solutions to what we can do here and also on maybe a national level to get these benefits that I've talked about that are kind of issues because we don't have them right now. Implement foreign language teachers for these younger grades across America. Typically, schools only hire Spanish teachers or French teachers even for high school ages, but that's not as beneficial as having kids start learning younger. I think that there needs to be an input of tax dollars to hiring teachers for these younger grades, or even making it an elective, an extracurricular, or a club, a Spanish club, or a culture club, even just to get those wheels turning. And then this next point here, instill the value. That is one issue of why, as I pointed out in the beginning, Europeans care about learning more languages, but here in America we don't. We need to instill the value and really show the benefits of why learning the language is so important. Now, you may be thinking, this is a really big problem to fix across America, how is this going to happen? But it starts on the individual scale. Without you, we cannot do anything. You should be active in your school board conversation on coming up with specific plans to advocate for having Spanish teachers or whatever language is applicable to your community in these younger grades. And know that you can be invested yourself, and even at an older age, like high school age or past, you can still pick up a language and learn it to live out the values you claim to have. And then also just remember, there's no room for apathy. If you don't care, nothing will change. But also know that change doesn't happen overnight. As people say, Rome was not built in a day. This is a slow change you can make every day, but it will make an impact in your community directly. Don't rely on others for change to happen, because if you do nothing, that you're only going to have a disappointed life. So find something to be passionate about, a policy, something in your community, and stand up for it, because it's going to give you a passion. And whether it's for foreign language or not, it's still a great idea to be deeply invested in your community and how you can better it. Thank you.